Alien abductions aren't a real thing, but sometimes it feels like they might be. My friend Baratunde might be held up in cyberspace. We're not sure. So we're going to use this opportunity to do an open mic night. If you got a question, go ahead and post it in the comments. If there's nobody here, there's nobody here. Sometimes I feel when I'm in this Zoom room by myself, like I'm just talking into the ether. Who knows? So go ahead, post it in the comments. If you got no questions, I'll vamp for another 30 seconds and then turn this thing off. We're here to talk about the Song of Significance. We're here to talk about Baratunde's podcast, How to Citizen, which is a really cool idea of thinking about that word citizen, not as a noun, not as some sort of gift, but as an active verb, about something that we do, that we get to do with each other and for each other. Now, what my book is about, and Baratunde and I did not plan ahead, is the idea that no one hands you meaning, you create meaning. Nobody is going to invent the best job you ever had and just give it to you. Instead, you're going to co-create it. And the same thing is true for all the civic institutions in our lives. One of the things that I learned among the many in working on the Carbon Almanac is we have a systems problem. And systems problems are almost never fixed by the people who are in charge of the system. They are fixed by the people who are part of the system. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to probably mispronounce everybody's name, but I'll try. Noman asks, how to connect with a team and build culture. So what is culture? Culture is, what are things like around here? Culture is, who gets employee of the month? Culture is, do you have a bully in the office who has excellent sales results, so the boss lets them get away with it because they have excellent sales results? What are things like around here? When I look to my right and I look to my left, what do I expect? And culture doesn't change all at once. Culture changes bit by bit, and you can change it in any little corner. You change it by showing up and establishing something, a different way of doing things. You find one person or two people or five people. You earn enrollment and you go somewhere together. And if you think about all of the changes in our culture of the last 100 years, which are stunning, just like an entire gender, half the population now mostly works outside the home. That was unheard of. That we have addressed so many of the injustices while we still have a lot more left to go. And look, the aliens have let him attend. I'm going to hit this button. You ready, Baratunde?
I am ready, Seth.
How are you?
Good, man. It's been a long time. Oh, I thought there was a bug on my wall. I was like,
No, you are, but yeah, you are live. There are thousands of people watching us already.
what?
And yes, we're having a great conversation. People are coming in with their questions. Let me just go over the bidding again. This young person sitting next to me, Baratunde Thurston, is an erudite scholar, a generous soul, somebody who is making a difference. You can find out more about Baratunde there. We are here to talk about making a difference, about your podcast, about what's happening after that, about how citizen as a verb intersects with this idea of seeking significance. If we're supposed to talk about something else, you should tell me, because that's all I got right now.
No, that sounds great, man. That sounds great.
And then in a minute, we're going to reopen this to questions. So the way this works, Baratunde, is the masses of thoughtful, generous, intelligent, good-looking people that are online can post a question in the comments, which then spreads the word. And there we go.
Can
So
I
how you been?
post this link on LinkedIn? It seems like
You can post the live link on LinkedIn.
yeah.
It's also recorded, and people can join. Because we didn't set it up enough in advance, I don't think it's going to automatically go on your LinkedIn.
Right,
But
right.
maybe next time it will.
Let's
But
see
you
what
want
happens.
to,
Ooh, there's
if
going to
you
be a
go
next
to,
time. I like that. Deal.
yeah, I hope so. We haven't screwed up yet. Do you, if someone who is in the comments wants to post the link to this thing so that Baratunde can then copy it and post it, we would appreciate that. So go ahead and figure out how you got here. Post that link while Baratunde and I are chatting. So what are you up to? Where are you, first of all?
Now I see the chat. This is we got India in the house. Hey, Suzanne Baker, Jason Reeves. Okay, good. Now I'm here.
Okay, you're settled.
Okay. I've been on many modes of transit, Seth, lately. I was just in Oregon for a full week filming for season 2 of my America Outdoors program. I was
What's that like?
That was incredible. Western Oregon is a beautiful and amazing thing.
That's too much for you to type. That's way too much.
No, I can just copy and paste.
How to copy.
I found it in the chat.
Yeah, maybe, but you can figure out you're in charge of that because I don't know how to do it. Okay, so there's the America Outdoors series. How do I make Dave go away? Thank you for doing that.
Oh, there it is. There's a live video feed. Look at this. Boom. Shared.
Okay.
Dave coming through.
Okay, good.
So let me just pause, catch my breath. I have not seen you in person or virtually. I think the last time we saw each other was at Grand Central Station in New York City quite a long time ago.
There was a party we were both at, and I was just trying to find someone who I enjoyed talking to. It was a way of hiding from everyone else, and it was you. But so many other people enjoyed
you. Yes.
So many other people enjoyed talking to you that there was a line.
You use me as a blankie. I can dig that. That's cool, man. So yeah, I'm swirling clearly. And I'm in kind of a tour mode. Oregon was a wonderful place to visit, and I'm excited about the types of stories we're continuing to tell of this country and of our connection to it through our connection to nature. So that's very present. And then the How to Citizen work continues. We just finished our season 4, exploring how you create a culture of democracy, not just in the halls of politics, but in our workplaces, in our homes. And you are such, a leader on like how to treat people with dignity and purpose and meaning in work. So it's exciting to be here for that. I'm also just I'm in my actual home, and I haven't been here in several weeks. So I'm enjoying.
So I hope you don't have any house plants, because that could be bad.
I do have houseplants. I also have a wonderful wife, Elizabeth, who has been taking care of them in my absence. So we're good.
But she's got to get rid of that bee that's right over there.
Yeah, that bee was not, it really freaked me out. I'm like, was there a giant? Because there are a lot of spiders and bugs out here, and the white wall.
So for people who are new to the Baratunde universe, let's talk about citizen as a verb.
Yeah,
because I did my best to explain it, but you can do it better than me.
Sure. How to citizen is an exploration of what it would mean if we reframe this from the divisive noun that we know, the legalistic immigration status based on where you were born, not anything you do, into a verb that's an invitation for all of us to shape our communities and help us all thrive. And
why do people hesitate? Sorry to interrupt. Why do you think people hesitate when they have the chance to do this, to do it? What's the story?
I think most people aren't even asked. I think, most of us are, when there's a moment for us to show up, in crisis, we do. You see it in natural disasters, you see some emergency situation, people pitch in and help after a fire or a flood, things like that. But I think much of our leadership underestimates us. Our business leadership underestimates us, our political leadership underestimates us. And so they ask for small things. They ask us to vote for them. They harass us through text messages to fund them. They ask us to shop, and support the economy, which is this vague concept. It's so disembodied from human meaning and experience. And in the meantime, they're missing an opportunity to have us embody a spirit of citizening that we've distilled into these 4 principles. You like principles. So show up and participate is number 1. Just assume there's something to do. Invest in relationships is number 2, with yourself, with others, and with the planet around you. Understand power is number 3. All the different ways we have to access that physical force, money, gathering, sharing ideas, attention, and valuing the collective self-interest, not merely the individual self-interest. That's number 4. And so when you ask, why don't we see this more? I think I actually have 2 answers. One I've already started. We're not encouraged to show up in this way. Our leaders have smaller imaginations, or they prey on weaker emotions like fear rather than aspiration and possibility.
Right.
Or we're doing it, but we don't know we're doing it because it's not the prevailing story of us that we experience. We are experiencing a lot of stories of us as divided, incompetent, recalcitrant, like all kinds of frustrated states of being. And we're not hearing so much the stories of people figuring out ways to live together better in a scenario of increasing tension and potential scarcity with climate change, and plausible, probable scarcity with climate change, and even actual in many cases. So because we don't hear it, we don't believe it as much. And when we don't believe it as much, we don't do it. But I think a lot of people are doing it. We're just kind of in isolation from each other.
I have a couple other theories that I want to chime in on.
Share them.
Get your
Yes,
take
please.
on it. I think the third one is
power,
a bit of a buzzkill because it makes people feel like it's something that is revolutionary, not simply evolutionary. And it feels like a conflict. Power, just that word. Right? So the second part of it, which is next to it, is the idea that we've been indoctrinated by the industrial system to ask, will this be on the test? To receive what is given to us, to follow instructions, not pushed and encouraged, as you said, to be part of it. So here's an example. A couple years ago, I was in a restaurant. It was probably a little cafe. It was 55 degrees out, and the door was stuck. It was a sticky door, and it's stuck in the open position.
Okay.
So this whoosh, and it's really cold. Every single person in the restaurant is cold. And I got up and I walked past 5 other tables to shut the door. And none of the people who were between me and the door had done that.
Yeah.
That is citizening, right? I didn't do it just because I was a little chilled.
Wasn't
These
just
people
for
were
you.
more chilled than me, right? But you can't do that in a 3rd grade classroom, or Ms. Binder will yell at you, right? Because she's the teacher, she's in charge. This idea that there's this hierarchy has been pushed on us that don't do it because your boss might not like it. Well, and if your boss thinks you're taking power, it's even worse.
So there's a lot in there, Seth, and I'm a similar person. I used to go to the movies a lot alone. It was a way to decompress. I would actually pretend to be a large corporation so I could buy discount movie tickets, because I discovered from a company I worked for that you didn't have to pay full price for things if you were a big company with lots of resources. It's a lot of things that are backwards in this world.
Yeah.
So instead of like complaining about it, I was like, I'm a big company now. And I created a company, and I bought like this packet of vouchers. It's good for a whole year. Some of them come with popcorn. And so I found myself in the movie theater a lot. And whenever you do something a lot, you expose yourself to error rates, and you experience the errors more if you have a larger denominator of experiences. And there's something wrong with the projection. The sound is off. And I would run these like experiments of one. Is anybody going to fix this? My instant instinct is like, I'll leave the theater. I'll go to the front desk, but I'm like, I'm not going to do it. So years I was like, I'm the person I do. And there's one time I'm like, I'm not doing it. I'm not. And it was like 10 minutes of horrible. No one else moved. Part of what I see happening in this discussion of power that we're starting to have, many of us have internalized a negativity associated with power. And it's like, it's icky. It's like, there's powerful people, there's not powerful people. Powerful people abuse it. There's people who don't have it. I think that's a false setup. I think we live in a system of influence, and power is just getting someone to do what you want them to do. Eric Liu at Citizen University was a great teacher of me on this particular point. And the leader, the reason that maybe people don't get up to close that door or fix that audio is a hyper focus on individualism in the most atomic sense, right? Selfishness
Interesting.
for
Okay.
one, as opposed to selfishness for
Yep.
many. And so we're just like, somebody else will do it, right? It's not my job to do it. I don't think it's fear of reprisal in some cases. I think it is assumption that I don't belong. There is no collective. There's just me. And somebody else will handle that because it's their thing to do. So there's no shared responsibility in that moment. And you took it on yourself to be like, I'm a part of a we in this room, and I have a little power.
I'm a part of a we.
The power
That's
of
a great
mobility,
way to say it.
right? And so I'm going to use my power on behalf of the many to satisfy my individual selfish desire to not be windswept, but also benefit all these other people who for some reason don't feel the need to do it. Now, the other piece of this is about leadership. And you talked about the teacher or the boss. And there's another book that has been really influential. It's called Citizens. And we were collaborating with the author, John Alexander. And he talks about the story that we come up in as in society, that there were three. There's a story of subject in the age of kings and autocrats. There's a story of consumer, which was liberating from the story of subject because we could buy our way out and have our individual needs met through the market. And there's the story of citizen, which is more collectively focused. And a leader in a citizen story is very different from a leader in a consumer story. A leader in a citizen story isn't threatened by their worker taking initiative.
Right.
They see themselves as a facilitator of worker power. Right.
Beautiful.
And so it requires a shift.
Did you get this yet? Did I send it to you?
I got the summary of it, and I was cramming.
This is exactly what I'm writing about. So I want to switch gears just a little bit to Marshall Gans. And you probably know Marshall.
I met Marshall years ago. Yeah.
Right. 3 more stories, and we're going to bring Carol's question on and talk about it. So Marshall Gans teaches at Harvard, and he has talked about a trajectory for citizen action. And there are 3 stories there as well. Story of self, story of us, story of now.
Yeah.
So you begin by telling the story of how this affects you. Why are you here? Why is this important to you? Story of us is here's why each of us is involved in the story, even if you don't think you are.
Mm-hmm.
So, I live on this isn't me. I live on the coast of Portugal. I lost half my land to climate change. Oh no. And I lost Baratunde. It wasn't my fault. The aliens are back. And so that's the story of self. The story of us is you have land too. And even if you don't, when the climate immigrants show up, it's going to affect you. And then the third one is the story of now. Here's why we need to act on it now. So here we go. Here's my comments. Back to your question, which was so good, Carol. Hold on. You asked. Here we go. Was it something I said?
I think I was allergic to the word Portugal for some reason. No, I was trying to post something in the chat, and I clicked login because I thought that would pop up in modal.
Right. We got about 10 minutes left. We're on a rant here because the two of us love to hear each other talk. As a local politician, how do I encourage our community to participate in the 4 principles? Can you give me an example? Over to you.
Hello, Carol Frazee. So you could ask people to. We had Inse Ufad on. She's a great community organizer, voting rights advocate, and one of the actions she recommended. Each of our episodes has multiple actions you can take at the end. So visit howtocitizen.com for a massive library. I won't get to all of them, but the one that is non-obvious, she said, ask people what they love about their community, about their city, about their county, about their country. You pick the scale, but make it fun and interactive and celebratory to highlight the loving connection people have to community. And there's so much local pride, and there's so much rancor and not good stories about what we love about our place. So as a political leader, like leaning into that and encouraging people to celebrate what they love is a nice way to engage folks in citizening at a very accessible level. It's not about signing petitions or going to rallies. It can be, but this is one of the easiest and most enjoyable on-ramps. It's just like, what do you love about your place? And that might end up highlighting a business or a neighbor or a kid's band or just the weather.
Yeah. Okay, so a couple things as we start to wrap this up. The first thing is, one thing that's worth remembering is paying attention to the motivations of the people who are feeding you media.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's a big social media organization, what they're trying to do is make you feel insecure, so you will click more to see what people are saying behind your back. If it is a certain kind of politician running in a certain way, they're trying to make you anxious about the opposition, so you will send them money. If you are engaging with people whose goals are your goals, it is more likely you will be motivated to do what it was you set out to do. If you're feeling really anxious and you are day trading your emotions because that's what the media company wants you to do, change your inputs and you can change your outputs. You got one more rant, and then I got a question from Virginia.
There have been a lot of great thinkers. Pia Mancini is one of them, who have been reminding us that we are already practicing new democratic ways. They just need more attention and fuel. Some of the image we have of ourselves as super divided is because of the questions we ask, the inputs, as Seth just pointed out. We have a lot of things in common, and we have the ability to work together when we're prompted appropriately. How you prompt AI, that'll change your answer. How you prompt humans, it's the same thing. How you prompt any intelligence will determine the quality of the result you get. And we are being prompted with a lot of poisonous teasing. So,
because it benefits somebody else.
It benefits somebody else. So asking who it benefits is helpful, and then changing the prompts. There are ways that we can survey ourselves. There's a great technical platform called Polis. It's a little complicated, but it gets at the heart of finding alignment rather than highlighting division. There's methods of voting, liquid voting and quadratic voting. These are process steps that allow us to see each other more clearly and create a story of us that actually feels like that, rather than a story of us versus them, right? Just kind of expanding the us. And so I might be strongly for something that you are weakly opposed to, and you might have a vice versa situation. If we only rely on the avatars and the caricatures of ourselves through influencers masquerading as political leaders,
this whole idea is ridiculous.
That, right? But if we can actually tease out, this means so much to you, it means so little to me, I'll grant that to you, and vice versa, then we would be able to, have policies reflective of that. A lot of work to do, a lot of institutions in the way of that progress that's already happening, but it is already happening.
We got to talk about it. All right. Last question from Virginia. Over to you, Baratunde.
As a teacher, how can I motivate my students to collaborate as a team and not to work individually for the sake of their grades? Can you define a team reward? One of, this is, I think it's a behavioral economics thing I'm kind of teasing at here, but the incentives drive a lot of our behavior. And we've set up very competitive dynamics and incentives. Someone wins, someone loses. There's a best, there's a worst, there's a ranking system, there's a grading curve. And some of that is necessary. We need to understand and be able to assess individual performance. But can you design an assessment of collective performance? Can you create collective rewards? If enough people achieve this, determine or demonstrate an understanding of that, then everybody gets this other thing, gets class outside, gets movies, gets donuts or gluten-free donuts or kale juice or whatever is like the resonant reward system in your culture and in the moment at the time. Maybe you even involve the students in defining that reward. What would we all love as a reward that we can enjoy together? All right, now let's set up some milestones that we can collectively achieve so we can collectively be rewarded. And then you're not just theoretically preaching about the value of collaboration. You are demonstrating in a measurable, embodied sense, the benefits of it. And so it's all well and good to be like, yeah, we should have things that benefit everybody. What does that experience feel like? We have to have a tangible experience of it. I had that in Europe on a trip. My wife broke her ankle and we went to the ER, and the Spanish government, the doctors laughed at me when I asked for the bill. They literally laughed in my face. I was braced for thousands of dollars and they're like, welcome to España. So now I got the tangible. It's not an academic argument at that stage. So what can you design for your students that makes it tangible, visceral, and real, and have fun with it? That could be a really fun collaborative exercise to even come up with the exercise and with the rewards. Good luck.
And worth the journey. So as we wrap up, worth the journey is the way I want to describe. Baratunde is literally a rock star, a movie star, somebody who could be doing just about anything he wants, but he is doing this because it's worth the journey. And I have been rooting for you since we met, and I'm just so honored to be on this screen with you, but just cheering you on. Keep making this ruckus. It really matters.
Thank you. Thank you for everything you've been doing. I've been an admirer, fan of what you do, and I'm honored to share this space with you. Was I late? Was I very late?
Don't worry. We're all good. Everything is great.
I had a calendar confusion.
Don't worry. All good. It's nothing. Don't end. We're not ending on that. We're rewinding. We're cutting that.
Okay, we'll rewind. I was like, I also want. I'm a rock star, cool, but I'm not the rock star that shows up an hour late to the show.
No. Anyway, I'm ending the broadcast now. Baratunde, don't hang up. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Have a great weekend.